Released in 2014, Among the Sleep is developed and published by Krillbyte Studios and is marketed as a survival horror game. Among the Sleep separates itself from typical survival horror games by giving the players a unique perspective of a 2-year-old child, nestled safely in their home, or so it would seem. Personally, I found this to be really interesting. Being a father myself, and getting the chance to play a horror game through the eyes of a child opens up a whole world of interpretation and imagination, and had me wondering what insights I would get from the game about what a child gets scared of throughout the night. While you're learning the controls for the game, you do this in the boy's bedroom, learning how to interact with objects and manipulate your environment, picking up objects, opening drawers, and learning how to climb them. You're guided through this by the assistance of your new toy Teddy. I couldn't help but chuckle. I can't count how many times I saw my kids doing this, watching them learn how to manipulate their environment to get them to their desired location. Now, it's worth noting here that the PC controls are fairly basic. Your standard WASD keys for movement, spaces to climb, because of course your 2-year-old self hasn't learned how to jump yet. And if you're a parent, you know how frustrated kids get when they are learning how to jump. Your mouse is to look around, with your left mouse button to interact and pick up objects, while your right mouse button will throw an object, as hard as a 2-year-old can actually throw an object, that is. Shift is to run quicker while walking, which isn't that much faster than the standard movement, but what I found great was that control makes you crawl, and is the fastest movement method in the game, which again, to me was fantastic, because when kids are transitioning from crawling to walking, they know when they need to move quickly, they get down to the ground and crawl their little nappy wrap tushies off. Now, the game is best played with headphones to really immerse yourself into the atmosphere that the game is creating. What you will notice from a sound perspective is that the game takes everyday household noises and amplifies them as you roam around the house. Merge this with spots of objects breaking and moving on their own, and the stage is set for an immersive and somewhat creepy experience. Now, through the majority of the game, it's nighttime, but you have your trusty teddy bear, and if you hug him, he starts glowing, and like any child in the middle of the night, they are walking around hugging their comfort toy, and this is true within the game as well, as you can navigate the world all whilst hugging your teddy bear. Now the question is here, what does every child look for when they wake up at night? And when they're afraid and frightened? Their mother. So of course, you need to go and find mum. And as you explore the lower levels of the house, you'll get the feeling that you're being stalked or chased in certain areas, but I found this wasn't the case. While the game does an amazing job of creating an atmosphere of terror in the earlier stages of the game, I found there was no actual threat. What you will need to do is find memories, which are items of importance, which mum has given to you that your baby self is holding onto and cherishing. When you find your first one, you'll be thrown into an in-between world, which is like a floating cubby house in a dead zone of floating earth. Make your way into the cubby house with the aid of Teddy and use the memories to find mum and commit these into a machine within the cubby house to bring the sound of mum's voice closer to you. With every memory you commit to the cubby house portal, it opens up to send you to a new area in which to explore, and the game will attempt to creep you out. Each area the game developers have created in the game are amplified and exaggerated aesthetics of what we as adults perceive to be a place that we would normally take our children to have a good time for their earlier years. It wasn't until the second last stage, where you have to find the third and fourth memory, that I found there was an actual threat which can capture you in the park and house stages within the game. Now, what I have found in any and all horror games is to let yourself get captured or caught, which for me gives the ability to see my pursuer and understand why they are chasing me, which also dispels any build-up, tension or fear the game is attempting to deliver to the player. And I have to say, upon being captured in the park and house levels, I didn't feel threatened. Viewing the entities which are capturing the child in the game, the creatures made me think of the mother figure. Evading the threats is simple enough, as the entities which chase you are very slow and can't bend over, so you can engage warp speed by going into crawl mode and scurrying under objects in the game to avoid capture. When you reach the end of the game, you realise what the developers have done, and it's so much more horrifying than being chased by a monster or entity. The whole idea of the game Among the Sleep is an interpretation of a child's perspective when your parents have recently separated and one of the parents is abusing substances to cope. Those memories you collected earlier act as keystones, and once you find and collect them, you are then flooded with all the memories of Mother and how she actually is when she's abusing substances and how you are actually treated. The scary and heart-crushing thing is that this is a reality some innocent children have to go through, and that to me is scarier than any horror survival game could ever throw at me. Now, while the game is basic at best and requires very minimal effort in order to complete the game and doesn't offer any real challenges in terms of puzzles or evasion, it offers a truly unique insight and perspective on how children might interpret traumatic events, which in my opinion is a very brave move and a great way to bring awareness to what single parents go through in terms of a breakup. How substance abuse is used as a crutch and how a child who is caught in this scenario could potentially register what's happening to their world. If you have recently gone through a separation where young children are involved and you think you're struggling to make the right decisions for you and your child, there is always help available. Your family, your friends, after a quick Google search here in Australia, there are services available which you can see on screen now, and links are in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again in the next video.
Hi there, little one. Come here. Did you like your gift? What happened to his arm? Don't worry, we'll fix him up.